derived from the leaves of the coca plant. When cocaine enters the body, it has a strong effect on body functions by acting as an it on the brain. Large overdose of cocaine causes convulsions, then death. Cocaine causes unusual and often unpredictable feelings and actions. In his ignorance, Marty took that dare, little knowing the eventual horror that lay in the deadly white powder.
Marty, have you seen the picking shears I bought last week? Can't seem to find them anywhere. Marty, you don't seem right. I'm worried about you. There's something wrong. I'm going to take you down to Dr. Vickers this afternoon for a checkup.
No, I'm all right.
As his body gradually built up intolerance, he needed more and more of the drug.
Good evening, good evening. Bridge Sky here. Sunday evening live. I got my handy dandy co-host with me tonight. I'm so excited. Probably my favorite co-host ever. She has committed, at least for now, to be my regular monthly. This is a special edition night. Risky relationships. It's a hot topic.
Yes.
And I hope I didn't offend anybody with the post. So, Guess, why don't you go ahead and say hello and how you're doing? And then I'm going to read the post. I don't know if you read the post yet.
No, actually, I have not. Anyway, thank you for inviting me and having me on here. Sarah, for those of you who recognize my voice and for those who don't, I have been in
a few shows.
Yes.
Before even you've been my fill-in safe person.
Tend to be, yes. But yeah, coming unprepared. So if I have a moment of silence, just bear with me.
Okay. Well, Sarah, the post tonight. So I asked you, because I like to switch back and forth. I pick a topic, you pick a topic. And last week or last month, we did the rebound. That was mine. Rebound in relationships. I see that a lot. Well, I asked you just on a whim, like, what would you want to talk about? You're like, what about those couples that just literally cling to each other? They can't go anywhere without each other. They have all their decisions they got to make with each other. Like, I thought that was beautiful. So, of course, that gave me an idea to do a lot of research. And what I came up with, here's the post.
All right.
So this is KISS Recovery 101. First time listening, KISS is keep it simple, stupid. Recovery 101, just the basics of whatever we talk about. I like simple concepts and just down to earth. I'm not no certified licensed anything when it comes to psychology, but I've been in recovery for quite some time. I had 17 years. Sarah, I was in and out of the rooms myself, but I just got 3 years of first time ever consistent, real, authentic recovery. And it's a simple program. Some of the programs I've been in, they ain't easy. Say, because I was always in the way. Okay, so special risky relationships, clingy, codependent couples. What happens when two codependents in recovery get in a relationship? It's obvious to everyone around them that it's unhealthy. They both want the relationship because they lack self-love. Have you seen a friend or a family member get in relationships and shut everyone out? Moving from one addiction to another is common in recovery. But what if the obsession, I would say cravings, all that triggers, all that is actually another person? So what's the warning signs of this chaotic, clingy storm? And what can someone do rather than sit back and wait for the aftermath? And anyone listening to, maybe you don't even recognize that you're in one of those relationships. For a long time, Sarah, I didn't even realize. What's interesting is I wasn't really codependent on per se my partners that I would spend time with, I ended up finding out my codependency lied within my relationship with my kids. But we're not talking about that tonight. But it's interesting because um, not too far ago, I'd say over 2 years ago, I was in a relationship over a year, and I remember when we first got together, I thought half kiddingly was like, "Oh, I've been told I'm codependent." I was like, "Oh, haha, that's funny." I don't believe that. And I didn't even know what codependent. I never heard the word before. I didn't even know what that was. And jokes on me. Now, not funny because it ended up, I got a big slap in the face of what that really looks like and how serious it can get. So, Sarah, when you think of that word codependency, and do you know of any couples, present, past, or were you in a relationship where there was double trouble codependency issues going on?
Yes. So it's interesting that you bring that up because I feel like, personally speaking, with relationships and codependency, I am the person that feeds on being the person somebody is codependent on
Mm-hmm.
versus being the person who's dependent. I remember growing up in, not my younger days, but, early 20s, and having that couple friend who literally could not go for 30 minutes without, oh, I wonder what so and so was doing or what they're up to. And we would be hanging out as a couple, kind of doing our own thing. And they would have to keep returning back to their partner
Right.
to check in, to
Yeah.
see what they're doing. And I just thought, what is going, like, I thought it very strange. And also, it made me feel insecure as a friend. Like, am I not good enough to be in your
Exactly.
company? Is this
Mhm.
something? So I then started internalizing it, taking it personally. But I realized that's something that
Unhealthy.
that's on their end. Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I've definitely been around it, experienced it. And I would also have to say it from a manager's perspective of sober living. That is one of the requirements when you come into sober living, that you do not start any new relationships.
Yeah.
There are people who have been married for 20 years and their husband is at home and they come and stay in a house for a couple months, which that's okay. And we make it work. They visit or vice versa. They go or they come in and whatever it is. But no new relationships are meant to start within the first 6 months because of the fact that it is so likely that the person who's in recovery will use it as their new addiction.
Mhm. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. I'm guilty. Okay. Just all you just said there makes me remind myself of when I'd start dating someone. You know why I would do that, Sarah? It was to distract myself from myself. I don't want to do any of that crap. So if I just put all my energy and my support and love into somebody else, and they're telling me how much they love and support me, I don't have to deal with the trauma. I don't have to deal with my insecurities. I didn't have to deal with the fact that I didn't love myself.
Yep.
And I didn't know that 3 years ago, Sarah, like full on. And yes, you're right. I have a family member. I don't know where she's at today, but that was a consistent cycle. And it was so awkward. Every year there'd be a new serious relationship. I put that in quotation, air quotes here. Serious relationship because they'd come to all the holidays. I'd feel so bad every year. And they're serious and holding hands and all that. I just thought it's all uncomfortable for all of us because we all know, hey, you're serious relationship number 5 here. I just felt bad for both of them. So anyway, so the reason it's live, let me get rid of that banner there, is because I want our listeners to interact. See, I think the point is I don't want to say anything. I'm going to be authentic to myself, but if I say anything that, I'm missing a piece or I'm making someone feel defensive or, I want people to interact. I want to hear your side, your insights, your experiences, right? I only know what I've experienced and what I see and what I've read and, whatever. So I need to know what, the other, what listeners have to say. Oh, let me get to the comments. So yeah, I wanted to read. Do you want to go ahead and read while I get myself situated with the comments? Just start right there of what happens.
All right. What happens when two codependents get in a relationship? Sharing a tight bond with your partner is a wonderful thing, especially if you spend time doing activities you both get a kick out of and are on the same page in terms of values and goals. But there is such a thing as being too closely connected to the point that it hurts you and your relationship in the long run. It's called codependency, which means you're too encapsulated in your significant other dependent on them for approval and a self-esteem boost. Codependency can be defined as unhealthy, dysfunctional, or dangerous reliance on another person, says Andrea Miller, author of Radical Acceptance: The Secret to Happy, Lasting Love. A codependent relationship can be one where both partners have this dysfunctional reliance on the other.
And wouldn't you say that really sums it up pretty clearly?
Yes.
I mean, what comes to mind for me, I've never really been like that. Okay. First of all, Facebook wasn't a thing not too that long. Still for me, I've always just been more of not in one relationship to the next, but my problem was I'd get in a relationship and I was fully on, full blown committed, and the problem was it got to like this obsession that
Yes.
and now I can look back and see I made a point to do all the things to be that person that, well, at the end of the day, that if I love them so much and treat them so good, that they'll do the same for me. Unfortunately, though, that didn't happen because they weren't healthy either. And they would take advantage, and then it turned into this scary eggshell thing. But I know today in Facebook age, why cannot people see? I mean, they put their relationship statuses all over the place. Okay.
Yes.
And then and I specifically have a girl in my mind, okay? Beautiful girl, okay? She's outgoing, she's smart, she's charismatic. However, I know me and everybody else sees when she gets into a new relationship, we're like, but wasn't she just with so and so? What is she? We all think, I'm thinking most of us like, what is she doing? And why would you put that on Facebook? But anyway, so we have interaction. Okay, Jesse said, "Oh yeah, engaged after 3 months." Okay. Naomi says, "Craft Rhonda." Chrissy says, "I had to stay in relationships right up until I got sober due to codependency from 17 till 3 years ago. So basically a lifetime." Ooh, Chrissy's touching on where we're going to get to. I'm excited
Yes.
about. I didn't even realize it all fell into my childhood. All my issues. Okay. Chrissy said, "Same." And Craft Rhonda said, "Girl." And Patty's here. Okay. Ladies, yes, we got the interactions. So, Sarah, now I did pick up. So, protocol, again, if this is your first time listening. So, we got about 10 more minutes. I'm going to have 3 alarms going off to remind us. So, we do an hour here. We're just going to keep chatting. I got like some really good hard blows here coming. Had some stuff
No,
coming
that's
up.
okay.
But I do want to talk about key warning signs, because here's the thing. You could see codependency all over the place, but it's more scary, especially in recovery, when it's two people that are codependent and they get sucked in with each other.
Yes.
And I feel like I know, how do I address this? Like, what can I say? Because they're so defensive that they're just going to hide more, and then they stop coming to meetings. I don't want them in the world of recovery. I'm sorry. When that blows up, when they break up, we're talking life-threatening disasters, like
Yes.
life or death. And that's what's so scary. So I think nobody says anything. Like, what can we say? But first of all, what are the warning signs?
No, I think you make a valid point on that, especially as somebody who, in your shoes as a peer recovery specialist, and or even if you're just sponsoring and you see it and you want to call it out, how do you do it without making somebody run away or put up the walls of denial, whatever is going on, to be able to just take a look at it almost as an outside perspective, like, hey, do you see what you're doing here? And and I also just want to kind of throw out there too, this, what we're talking about tonight is not about when you get in a relationship with somebody and you love doing stuff with them and you always want to hang out and do things. That's okay. That's normal. That's healthy.
Yes.
It's when you feel so insecure that you can't go half your day without thinking about what the other person's doing, what you guys are going to do, together, when the second that person gets home or with you, or what, all, if your mind is like an addict's mind where all you can think about is that person, that's a red flag. That's a huge red flag. And you should be able to make decisions and go places and do things on your own with your own free will, because that's why we're here, right? But yes, I think, just to clarify, that where we're going is that need, that addiction piece.
Oh, and that's right. I wanted to point out. Now I see today beautiful couples in recovery. There's Caroline and Paul. They're with, I think, Will Work. I mean, Jason and Patty. I see like couples that are really, all of us. I think that's where a lot of them kind of stem from too. We're seeing these cool couples that had made it work. But I think there's so many different elements. Like they probably had maybe a relationship foundation before needing recovery, or they had some solid recovery going into it together. I know the one relationship that I was in for that year. Okay, for getting treatment. Okay, that was a red flag. Okay. But I had
Yes.
never been in a relationship with someone in recovery. So I was so excited. Okay, Sarah. So guess who called me out? Luckily, I had a therapist. And she did it.
Okay.
So she kind of got more grace in that sense.
Yeah.
But again, my sponsor also did, but she tiptoed around it. But either way, both of those women, even though I loved and respected them, set off my rebellious mind like, it's okay, ladies. I know what I'm doing. Like, this is going to work. I'm going to make this work. Unfortunately, that set in my mind, now I got to make the fucking shit work. Even though I knew 6 months in, it wasn't going to work. I felt it, but I kept forcing it, and I was doing and going above and beyond things I should have never have done. And when it became like threatening to my children is when I finally had to draw the line. So and I still look back and I'm like, so here, that's why I'm giving this useful information. Don't do what I did. Here's some key warning signs, Sarah. I'll start them off. We'll go back and forth.
All right.
Warning signs. You're afraid to. Okay, so here's some key warning signs. Number 1, you're afraid to make decisions on your own. If you feel a need to have your partner weigh in on every aspect of your life, from when you should go hang out with your friends to whether you should go for a promotion at work, it could mean you're codependent. Like you said, though, there's definitely a healthy perspective of that, right?
Yeah.
But I recall when literally my friend wouldn't go have lunch with me unless her guy tagged along. It was uncomfortable and icky. I'm like, I don't want to have
No.
lunch with your boyfriend. I want to have lunch with. Okay, I'm like, this is gonna be our last lunch. You just let me know when you by yourself want to hang out with me.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of that too is that trying to find that balance. And also, and yeah, of course you want to include your partner. I mean, that's being respectful, and that's part of being in a relationship. But when it gets to that point where you can't even go have a lunch with a girlfriend, yeah, no.
And you're checking your phone during your lunch.
Oh yeah, that's
Number 2.
all right. Number 2, you do anything to avoid an argument. A person who is emotionally mature and healthy, who feels love and abundance and trust, won't be afraid to voice an opposing viewpoint. I like this one, actually. I have watched friends of mine who are in relationships who I know sit on on one side of something and completely throw their values and their viewpoints out the window the second they find out their partner is on the other side.
See, Sarah, you are psychic. You're just extremely intelligent because you're going to love my pro tips. You have no idea what's coming on the show, which I love because you're right along with our listeners. Number 3, you do favors. Oh my God, this one made me want to throw up. You do favors that normally make you uncomfortable. I'm going to jump into number 4 and then I'm going to have you do 5. You get jealous easily. So I was definitely number 3. Ick. And then number 2, I want to go back to, because I always used to be that person until that last relationship where it got really threatening and scary. Before that point, all my relationships, I was in a marriage for 10 years and I was on and off again with my other person for 3 years. I literally would feel this icky feeling in my stomach if I didn't agree with them, but I wouldn't say it. Just keep it inside. Make sure they just, had no reason not to like me, which now I think I just want to like slap myself, because how could I expect anybody to love me when I wasn't even being me, being my real me? And yes, if it made them feel argument or whatever, we can have a conversation. We can agree to disagree. Like my mindset is so changed. But you want to wrap it up with number 5, and then I do want to get into this great clip.
All right, number 5.
Short and sweet.
What is a...
No, number 5.
Sorry.
Right there.
Oh, there we go. You have to know where your partner is at all times.
Oh, yeah, we already talked about that.
But that's true. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
That need to be almost, and it's almost a control aspect on both ends. And it's just kind of, I don't know. That makes me just want to run for the hills. My personality, the deepest part of my character is if somebody's going to try and control me, it pushes me away farther, actually.
Okay, and here's the thing. Before recovery, I thought it was cute. I thought it was like so nice that they cared about where I was and they want to make sure I was safe. When it started, okay, and then it escalates, right? It starts off like, oh, they're just checking in. Oh, they missed me too.
Yes.
Oh, well, who was there? Oh, why are you wearing mascara? Just the tone of my voice or a look, I'm lying. Like it got really scary really fast.
Yes.
So cute. Yeah, I had no idea what I was messing with. Okay, so we're gonna play this clip, but I did want after we come back, I want to talk about there's this great, if you go to the website, it's willingway.com. So it's going to be a pro tip, but we'll talk about that when we get to the pro tip. So we don't do hot seat. So I forgot to say, so normally on a regular episode, we do our 20 minutes conversation. We do, for sure 10 back and forth, make listeners, we do a clip, and then we do the hot seat, which is 3 hot, heavier questions. But because this is like a specific topic with a specific purpose and intention, we do 3 pro tips.
Okay.
And then, of course, you can chime in on any ones that you pop into or think of.
Absolutely.
So this clip all correlates. You know how I am. Everything ties in. It might not tie in all at once, but it does make sense eventually. So this clip I really loved because I really hated, oh, you have to love yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's easy for everyone to say who's never been in recovery or had addictions or substance use disorder, okay? So that's what I hate about a lot of these motivational ones that I'm listening to. It's just like, you need to love yourself. Well, how about if you've spent 39 years of your life hating yourself or not even knowing what loving yourself even looks like? A bubble bath ain't gonna fix it, sonny. So I just get so mad because, oh, yeah, that sounds so fucking easy. I'm taking a bath, I'm reading. I still don't love myself. Like, what are you talking about? So my pro tips are professional tips that I found that worked for me because I like to put myself in that dark place.
I just got to add, and I think,
Please do.
to be honest, because I really love what you're touching on here. And for the future, I would love to do a self-love discussion, just that alone as the topic.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things there that are missing for people that don't understand. Like, I'm the person that fights that because I have a hard time accepting myself.
Mm-hmm.
So to love myself on top of it seems nearly impossible. But I do get it now. It's taken me a very long time and a lot of different paths to follow, but I understand it now. So yeah, I would love down the road to take that on.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I would love to just have an episode coming from the negative aspect at first. My friend Angela, actually, at one of our Monday night meetings, pointed out, like, I actually feel guilty. Especially as mothers, like, I feel guilty doing anything for myself that isn't selfless. Like, I feel like taking any time, even coming to this meeting, I feel guilty.
Yes.
Well, these motivations, they don't understand that aspect. So, especially when you spent so many years in addiction, feeling like an asshole, like, I don't get to have self-care because I felt like I had too much to make up for before. I felt at that point 3 years ago, Sarah, that I didn't deserve forgiveness, let alone fucking self-care. I have a lot of making up to do. Well, no wonder it took so long to get out of the hole as I set myself up negative below. Okay, so this one, if you go to, I think I already posted it on Facebook comments, but there's 16 minutes. Oh, we're too slow. Sorry, Sally. Turn her back on. This one is self-love. It's a positive morning motivation.
Power on.
We're literally going to play 2 minutes, not 16 minutes. So that'd be half our show now. So here we go. Hopefully the volume is good. Oh, there's a hesitation. Oh, would help. You know what would help if I turned the Wi-Fi on, Sarah? It's been a weekend.
Oh, yes.
I tell you, I just been really, well, it's been great because I've been making a point to, like, be at home and be in my space, but also stepping away from trying not to be organized and try not to think ahead. Well, I literally didn't think ahead at all. Okay, 10 seconds. Okay, backing up. Here we go. So self-love, laws of attraction, YouTube. There we go. Still not working. Okay, hopefully this works.
Because if you understand the value of self-love, you'll never be friends with those type of people Most of the people out here are running around empty. They have no sense of self, no sense of self-love. When I say self-love, it has nothing to do with celebrity, money, materialistic things, and all of the things that your negative mind could probably go to. It has nothing to do with self-love. It has nothing to do with looks, nothing to do with cars and any of the superficial things that one would assume that could make you love yourself even more. It's a matter of knowing your value.
Bluetooth connected.
You're saying, I don't have to be around these people in these type of environments and situations in order for me to finally see the value in myself. I love me independent of you loving me. I believe in me. I know my self-worth. I am here and I have a purpose. There is no value in having wisdom, knowledge, insight, spirituality, love. Every day, I am a work in progress.
A person who can forgive nothing is a person who's totally destroyed psychologically and emotionally. Forgive your parents. Forgive any relationship that you ever had that didn't work out. Forgive everyone else in your life that has ever hurt you in any way. Forgive yourself.
Forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different. I think for myself, and I know many of you, you think forgiving means accepting what has happened to you. Well, it is accepting that it has happened to you, not accepting that it was okay for it to happen. It is accepting that it has happened, and now what do I do about it? Forgiving is giving up the hope, not holding on, hoping, wishing that it could have been any other way than it actually was. Giving up the hope that the past could be any different.
Holy smokes. Dale, sorry about the technical difficulties. A lot of big things in there. Anything stood out to you right away?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering if you still love yourself despite your clear technical difficulties.
I forgive myself. Nowadays, I just laugh at myself. Like, this is not like professional here. I try to be professional. Okay, one thing that really I loved. Okay, there was 3 big things.
Yes.
And I was gonna cut it before Oprah came on, but that piece that Oprah shared is how it makes me feel emotional. Was how I was able to forgive my parents, Sarah, which is a lot of where my trauma stemmed, which is a lot of where I have never felt love from any of my partners because I didn't believe I was worthy of love, thanks to my parents. Okay, now, I first heard that second guy said, "Forgive your parents," but then he went on to forgive this and that. I'm like, it still reminds me of that moment. I remember doing that inventory. And I remember key people saying, "But you got to put them on the list." I said, "They're not even going on my fucking list." Sorry. They're not even going on my list because they don't get no forgiveness. Like, I could forgive them in the sense of they're bad people and they were just going to do what they were going to do. But like, I'm not making no amends to them. And when I heard Oprah say, oh, it makes me emotional because it was 17 years of a lot of physical abuse, a lot of emotional abuse, sexual abuse by my own father. I don't think that evil man deserved any forgiveness, and let alone my mom was just or more guilty the fact that she didn't believe me. She made me feel like I made it up, and still, 35 years old, she was still saying she was still in denial, and still in like the split second of me would still question it myself. So I believed I was this liar for like ever. Anyway, so when Oprah said, "It's not about forgiving what they did. It's not about forgetting what, went on, the wrongness of that. It's about forgetting. It's about accepting that it has happened. accept that peace and let go of the hope that it will ever be anything different. And like right away, my go-to was like, yeah, I know it's the past. I can't change that. But I'm not going to lie. A little piece of me, my adopted mom is still alive, still wanted her to fucking acknowledge that it happened and to acknowledge that I am lovable and worthy of love, you know?
Yes, actually, and as you were just kind of going down that really makes me, it hits home for me because as a person who suffers from chronic depression, one of my symptoms that I deal with on it all the time is the fact that I feel hopelessness. I feel, what's the point? Why even bother? Why do all these things? Because whenever I give hope to something, it doesn't pan out. What I'm missing is the fact that I need to learn to give up the hope that things will have been different and trying to change the past. The concept or idea of being hopeful for something exciting, I shouldn't squander that and tuck it down and hide it because that's not doing myself any good. But because I feel like I'm having this little aha moment as I'm speaking, but it's all connected. I need to let go of that past stuff. That hope that's where I feel hopeless because I feel like because that's not changing, nothing else will change. That's not true.
Right.
So, yeah, no, that hits home very deeply for me.
Yes. Well, and it took me a long time to process it. And when I finally truly understood it and I aligned with it and I connected with it, I realized in my heart today, I feel sadness. I feel pity for my mom. I feel pity, sadness for my past relationships because I mean, a couple of them, they've definitely grown, you know, and I was young when I first got married. Like, there's been a lot of growth, but, you know, because I'm just so wired now with immediately being able to have that empathy, but now I have so much love for myself. I don't question myself. So, immediately, what's up when my ex or somebody tries to say something on the other side? I know it's about them. I know it's not me. Where before, I didn't have any love for myself. So, I immediately went to blame myself. Okay. So that is typically our hot seat alarm. But guess what, Sarah?
All right.
Let's get into the good stuff.
Yes.
The juicy stuff. Okay. So pro tips. I have prepared 3 professional tips. So here's what's great, Sarah. There's a point to these tips because of all the research I did, none of them have in the back of my mind, you know, there's a lot of ones for people in recovery or whatever. They're all treatment clinical BS stuff that, okay, for me, I had 17 years of a really lot of bad stuff. So walking in, doing all the things, I couldn't start where these people are trying to have I'll just say me. I was not ready to start. So my pro tips worked for me when I was coming from severe depression and trauma and all sorts of things. So these are the things that kind of started to get me into come to the light. My light was so dim. So I would love to hear how any of these you're like, yeah,
Yes,
that worked for
please.
me, or anything that pops up for you. Okay. So, somebody says audio isn't working. Oh, audio's working now. Okay, whoo. Okay, listeners, feel free. Any questions, anything that we've said that you're like, no, I don't agree with that, or you're missing this piece, please let me know because, yes, there was a whole lot of information I'm leaving out. There's a whole lot of sides and aspects. Right now, I'm just going on the whim of we're trying to fit it in an hour here.
Yes.
Okay, so here we go. I wrote those on paper. I forgot.
Oh, lovely.
I do not like looking at my phone. I hate it. It's like it's its own addiction. I'll let you hold on to that beautiful piece. And there's a card. I'm actually going to have you read what I highlighted. Because that's going to be a pro tip number 2. Okay. Pro tip number 1 that I think is huge. So if you are that codependent person, or you're with a codependent person, or you're that poor bystander, you don't know what to say or do, here's some things that you could maybe pass on to them, or some things that you yourself could look at. So I didn't even have this list, Sarah. Pro tip number 1 is, I got the sound effect. It just makes it so much cooler. List and know your own core values. Oh, dang it. There's a delay because I don't pay for the service. Here we go. Okay.
Yes.
So what that means, guess what? You could just go. I found like several cool little, I actually posted one. You could take a test that will at least get you a quick little assessment to see what, based on your answers, that assessment says your core values are today.
I like that. Well, and again, this is a whole nother rabbit hole itself, but anything when you're dealing with values and knowing where you stand with yourself, I think is going to help you not only not be a codependent person, but also set those boundaries for people who are being dependent upon you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that took me a long time to figure that out. And even though I was raised by a very strong-willed man who instills his values, but not just his. He always had that, like, okay, but if you're going to come up with yours, you stick by them, like that type of mentality. And so I am a very stubborn person, and I do tend to kind of want to go my own way. But it wasn't until diving into recovery and figuring out where all this stuff goes and where it leads to that the values, those are the key pieces that align you with the direction and where you are heading, and also how and why, like how to guide your life in that way.
Yes. How you show up every single day. And here's the key thing. I couldn't even start self-love, BS, until I knew who I was as a person. I didn't know like I felt what my values were, but until I sat down and list that shit out.
To actually face them.
Yes.
Confront them.
Yes. And feel more authentic as myself. So one thing that stood out, for that too. So I did post an assessment, but like I said, find out. Okay, Sarah, do you have one that popped up? One of the ones that I think always pop in my core value list is integrity, because I like to loop in a few things.
Yes.
Living honestly, that's something that I always tried to be, but at the throes of my addiction, that line swayed. So for me, integrity means living honestly and doing what I know in my heart, my gut, my mind about it is right. And not going against that anymore, ever. Do you have a core value that comes to mind?
Yeah, actually, it kind of even ties in a little bit with the self-love concept, but generosity.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about, oh, you need to give money away or be financially or materialistically able to give something. I'm talking about the people that literally can give time. Give something that you know is going to make a difference in somebody else's life, that has basically the whole concept of being selfless and not being selfish either. And that's also, again, the whole concept of self-love, and what people love to preach about is, oh, well, self-love is self-care. So take time and go take that hot bubble bath or whatever it is that they're putting out. Well, somebody who literally prides themselves and holds that as a core value, generosity, I don't have time to set that much time aside for myself. What that's not benefiting anybody but myself. It took me a lot of training to realize, okay, but when I'm happy, my daughter's happy.
Right.
Like I didn't correlate that until later on. But yeah, that's definitely one of my key values.
Love it. And for me, self-care, I always thought it was outside shit. Like, Sarah, look at my nails. Look at these chipping away. I never have time every night to sit down and worry about my nails, or I don't want to spend money, whatever. But for me now, I made a point every night. I love just journaling or writing or reading something that I want to read and enjoy. For me, that is self-care that feeds my, inner soul. Okay. Pro tip number 2. And so this one we're going to read. I want you to read this key, beautiful paragraph from this great book. But pro tip number 2, Sarah, you were actually the inspiration, and I'm going to read a couple examples, is set mantras. Or for me, I only could do one a day. One mantra, and I use that same mantra for months, but for tough moments. Okay, so let's get rid of the fluffy rainbow shit. Set mantras when you're not in a good place. Okay, so we're going to share some of them. Before we share those, so pro tip number 2, let's just say even one. If you can do more, do more. But set one mantra for tough moments you could start using today. So, what book do you have there, Sarah?
All right, this is a favorite, Warriors in Recovery by Melanie Moberg. And in her chapter of self and love and acceptance on page 63, highlighted here is, I don't break promises to myself. When I started keeping promises to myself, I started respecting myself. Try it. There's a hard truth that I want to share because it resonated with me in a big way. You may dislike me for a bit or for a long time after this one, so please take a deep breath and just consider it. You don't have to make any rash decisions today, just consider it. We have what we are willing to tolerate. If there is someone or something in your life that you do not like, ask yourself if you are okay with it. Remember, only you can change your life. If someone or something is in your life, that is because you are allowing it. This isn't always easy to accept. Sometimes the people we love are the things we are tolerating. We must decide if we are still willing to tolerate them. For now, simply be aware that if you are unhappy with someone or something in your life, it is possible that you are not doing what is needed to protect your emotional and or physical space. And I think I'm just going to jump right in on this one.
Yeah.
I instantly have my defense mechanisms going up and wanting to challenge this, because as a mother who co-parents with somebody that is very challenging to me and that I don't directly care for very much, I want to just be like, well, I'm stuck with this person. No, I'm actually not. And to check myself, I shouldn't be letting the person affect my everyday, and I don't. I make communication and things for my daughter on her sake and on her behalf. But other than that, my every day-to-day things are my own decisions. Those are my own life choices, and I don't include that person. That person doesn't need, if they throw out an opinion, I don't have to hear it, let alone, especially, I don't have to accept it.
Yes. Ooh. Okay, now you just made me think of three things. I'm in the same predicament. But let me back up. So when I read this was a turning point in that last relationship that I was in that turns pretty bad. I underlined that in that book because when she said, what is going on? I immediately thought of this person, and it had gotten so bad. I'm allowing it. And I thought, but I'm not. Like, I've done all the things to tell him to leave. I've done all the things to get his family, try to get the vote. He's even got a counseling. I've done all these things. I'm not allowing it. At the end of the day, she's right. I'm still allowing him to come into my home. I'm still allowing him to think that this is somehow ever going to work. Yeah. And it was a good, hard reality. And the other piece, what you just said too, is at the end of the day, where it's come down to with me and my ex, one of my exes, is that we only have to talk when it comes to our children. And that's, now it's gotten a little better, but for the most part, and I don't have to agree with him. We don't have to agree. Guess what? There's other people in that circle of our family dynamics, the schools and the therapists and other people. Like, I keep to the facts, I keep to evidence. And the main thing I think of is, am I stepping up and doing the best I can? This is for my daughter or our family.
It's not about you.
Nope. And so whatever he wants to say, he always brings up stuff from the past. So silly. But at the end of the day, I remind him, like, this is about me and you. Whatever happened a month, a year, 5 years ago, I'm talking about this present moment. I just have to keep bringing it back. And before, that used to be my red button. It would set me off. I'd start acting whatever. Nope. I just paused, and he's left and walked out and been mad or whatever. But it's great because I just stay planted and present and just give them that space. Okay, last one. Pro tip number. Oh, wait, I forgot. We got to share. So here's some examples. Yes, and this is your post. Mantras for tough moments. Now, here's the funny part. It's from the Curious Parenting. But here's what's great is, at the end of the day, and we're going to talk about emotional sobriety. A lot of people's emotional maturity levels are very different. And for me, not very lucky, but I grew up very early. Okay, so my emotional maturity, unfortunately, I didn't have a childhood, but I found that one of the relationships I was in, his maturity was lower than some of my older children's. So these mantras actually would have been very useful to have them. And I actually picked a couple that I'm going to keep for myself, but I'm going to read them all. So, mantras for tough moments. First one, they are feeling frustrated when the limits I set, with the limits that I set, not with me. Go ahead. We'll just go back and forth.
Absolutely. All right, the second one. This feels scary right now, and that's okay.
Love it. What can I do to support myself?
It doesn't feel like it, but they're safe, and so am I.
Mm. Limit pushing is a natural part of development. It's how people learn to be independent.
What might they need right now?
And the last one is, what might I need right now? Ooh, those are great. I could spend another hour just talking about each of them because I've seriously each one of these in a situation thought about a moment where I just had to drive in the middle of the night just to make a point to keep my promise and my boundary to myself.
Yes.
My kids are safe. He's safe. I'm cold and freezing driving around this fucking vehicle with my nightgown, but I'm making my goddamn point. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the last pro tip, number 3, I have in front of me. This is a fantastic book, Sarah, I found actually when I first started as a peer recovery specialist. It's okay. Ooh, I gotta get my ding. Makes it sound more authentic, I think. So pro tip number 3 is read Emotional Sobriety by Tian Dayton. Tian Dayton. Tiandayton. So it's Emotional Sobriety. First, let me do the ding. And then if you read underneath, it says from relationship drama to resilience and balance. This is great. And it comes with a workbook. And they nail the workbook especially, but just read this whole book. You don't even need the workbook. It talks about understanding your why. I needed to know why I was so fucked up, like why I was doing the things I felt what I knew wasn't good. I could feel it. I knew these patterns and cycles weren't healthy. I kept getting in bad relationships and the underlining factor, it was still, I'm the one showing up at these relationships. I'm doing all the things I know for a fact. I'm taking care of them. I'm making points not to fight ever, disagree. What is going on? So understanding your why, or, what happened, because what this book helped me, that's our last alarm. We're about to get to the beebs. This book helped me understand my own trauma, but I needed to understand the why before I could even begin to peel and start healing on my trauma. That was really hard. I'd at least recommend. For me, I needed a good year before I could even start really digging into my trauma with a therapist. But this book at least opened some light and gave me the scientific facts of what happens with our brains and our emotions. Our emotions are the set triggers.
Oh, I can't argue with any of that. In fact, it kind of makes me want to make a point because I feel like I have not read this book myself, and it sounds a lot like it's acceptance. The key is acceptance. Yes, I just quoted the big book. But tie it all in. It's all related. Recovery, parenting, self-love, especially codependence. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to accept yourself at the end of the day with your decisions, not the whys or ifs or hows or whatever, to go down those rabbit holes.
Yes.
But just to be in the moment and accept things as they are right now.
Yes. Huge. And for me, because I had so much darkness in my heart, I had attempted to take my life. It was not supposed to come back. So I had run away from life. So before I could even really accept that I was here and that I was going to I had to understand, because I couldn't explain to anyone why I did the things I did. How could you do that? How could you do that to your kids? How could you, those people are gone out of my life, by the way. They're not supportive people when I'm already down on the ground and they're just kicking me while I'm down. I don't even know. I just can't. I know, but I'm so glad that I didn't let that consume me, because I just almost died. They're telling me I'm an idiot. So, but for me, okay, I'm just going to read a little bit from this book and we're going to get into some lighter stuff, the beams. But Chapter 1, what is emotional sobriety? So recent research in neuroscience suggests just the opposite of what you might think. Emotions, it turns out, impact our thinking more than our thinking impacts our emotions. Ding!
Big surprise.
Right? The emotional part of our brain actually sends more inputs to the thinking part of our brain than the opposite. In other words, when our emotions are out of control, so is our thinking. And when we can't bring our feeling and thinking into some sort of balance, our life and our relationships feel out of balance too. Emotional sobriety encompasses our ability to live with balance and maturity. Fantastic, right?
Beautiful.
Okay, Sarah, any final thoughts? And then we're gonna jump into our last segment.
No, first of all, thanks for introducing me to this book just now, because now I will add that to my list of 20 books I want to read within this month. I have my new addiction reading. But no, I think these are all really good concepts and things to think about. And that's the one great thing about this podcast is we're not here to preach or do anything and tell anybody how to live one way or the other. It's just here just to have a conversation, not a debate, and to throw out just things that people notice and things that we know that, hey, maybe we ourselves are working on this, or we know somebody that could use to work on this, or maybe we're just trying to figure out how to help somebody in our life that we know might need help. So
absolutely. And I just shared with you the other day, Sarah, I'm almost terrified to even try a relationship. I'm in no place right now. Like the nice thing is I have no desire. I've been trying to date. That's a joke. But anyway, but like I do worry because my old patterns is this obsession. My brain before has this love addiction thing where that I like to just enthrall myself and completely fall. Now it takes me a long time to get there. But those past 3 that I did, it's all in. It's all crazy. But now I feel like I do have enough knowledge. But here's some things that did stand out. So there's this great website. I'll post a link, but it does talk about, so if you're seeing those people and you don't know what to say and you don't know what to do, I love these tips because really, so you go to thewillingway.com, how to fix an addicted or codependent relationship, because that you can actually do it if you're willing to do the work.
Yep.
It's gonna be a lot of work, but it can't be one-sided, and the other side can't half-ass it. Like you either got to be all in or not. But the relationship between codependency and addiction, one of the many problems with a codependent relationship is that you may be inadvertently enabling a partner's addiction. That was me, Sarah. I thought I totally understand. I mean, I wish I ended up trying to be the person that I always wanted when I was struggling, when I was getting in the downward spiral, and then eventually realized like I wanted to be that person that showed up that I never had. Ugh, it was not a good idea. So inadvertently enabling a partner's addiction. So in your attempt to show your love by helping, in quotes, your partner, you can actually discourage him or her from seeking the treatment that they needed from professionals. So how did I know my friend is in a code group? So we already talked about that. They're constantly making compromises for the other person. I find that as a CPRS working with my clients, they're venting about their relationship, right?
yes.
But as soon as I make one little thing to agree with them, even Sarah, I'll be like, oh yeah, what they said, that is so not right. It's crazy to see. They'll flip on me and say, well, you don't know this because this is why he did this. They go to defend them. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I just want you to know I'm just agreeing with you. And I'm like, ooh, there's going to be some time to work and process through that. But all we can really do is, is really just listen is the big thing. And really it's just help them to kind of self-realize. And when I did the Alexandra House 50-hour beautiful advocate training, is unfortunately, especially in abusive relationships, the average person will go back, even if there's lots of physical and sexual violence and abuse, 7 times. They'll go right back into it before they pull themselves out of it. So
yes. And sorry to kind of just jump in here and cut you off.
Yes.
So it's funny because now that you say that, that makes me think of this thing that I came across not that long ago. It's called the 4 Horsemen and how to stop them with their antidotes. But this is in regards to relationships. So the 4 things that can kill a relationship the fastest are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Go figure, men are more notorious with stonewalling. The one that is most irreversible and you're it's going to take a miracle basically to get out of. But contempt, when you talk about somebody about how distasteful you feel, or they do this or do that, and just that holding all of that negativity towards that other person is not, these are, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but these are the one things that, and you were just talking about it, that's what made me want to pull this up. But there are ways to deal with them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, even though it's the most worst one, because you know what? I am that person. I will get myself so in a negative downward spiral and start taking it out on the other person and with contempt, that this has actually been pretty beneficial for my own personal relationship of maintaining a healthier, more accepting relationship.
Yes. And for me now, I'm just like take it or leave it kind of person. I found that just being honest upfront right away, I did try to date a little bit, and that person that I was kind of hanging out with a little bit, nothing serious, nothing went serious, but I remember saying upfront, I just got out of this relationship and it was pretty serious, and whatever. I still to this day have never shared details of how bad it was, but he said he respected that. I was kind of excited because he was like, I'll respect, we're not going to label this nothing, we're just going to hang out. But I set those clear, I say promises, not boundaries, promises, like, so don't expect anything, like this is not going to be sexual at any time soon, but also I don't want to label that we're dating. I don't want really to, like, don't put nothing on Facebook, but also I made a point to say, if I feel icky or I feel off about something that you say or do, I'm just going to be upfront and let you know so we can have a discussion about it. And I want you to do the same thing. That is the only way this is going to work, because I told him I'm still angry. I still have resentments that I'm processing for men in general.
Yes.
And he said he was okay with that. But at the end of the day, I realized he had a lot of work to do on himself. And what ended up happening was, any little thing, I'm like, so I noticed that you said this a few times. I'm just wondering, where this is coming from, what you mean by that. He got so defensive. What do you mean? Like, I don't know. I got to think about it. He'd hang up, and then he talked the next day, and he got way in his head, and he's talking to his sober friends and in his house, and I totally took it to some whole other level. Instead of having that conversation with me, well, he ended up running, which was kind of funny, but it kind of hurt because I heard that, like, he was sharing that I was too much and I was always in a negative space. And he just wanted to be around someone fun and free. Here's the thing. I'm fun and free, Sarah. You know that. The only, I think there was 4 times, and they weren't even big things, but I didn't want to build resentments. And I wanted to be upfront, like, hey, when you said this, or when you ditched me on my fucking birthday, hang out with you, whatever. Like, I don't care if you planned the weekend the decade after because you wanted a weekend, like, you still was my birthday. I didn't say it like that, Sarah, but I was like, I don't know how I say it usually is putting myself in your shoes, processing it for a while. Here's how I would have handled you. I just talk about, where your head was at,
Yes.
But he did not like that at all. And it turns out he was telling everybody I'm the negative person. Okay, not naming names. Let me tell you, he's negative Nancy. Always bitching about his roommates. His bitching about his co-hosting people. He was his family. Like, it was a mountain of crap. And I think at the end of it, our hangouts, I felt like I had to share and vent about negative stuff so that I didn't want him to feel like I'm just this happy, positive person all the time. It was very twisted and weird, Sarah.
No, and you know what's even funnier about that is you just nailed it on the head.
What I'm talking about.
Yes. Too. And those people, though, it's always the person that goes, I hate drama. I can't stand drama. Those are the number one people who bring it and promote it and do all the things drama related. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're trying to shut out, clearly you have an issue internally with it directly.
Yes. And there were so many people who were like, oh, I heard you guys are dating. I'm like, who said that? They're like, well, I was like, we're hanging out, we're friends. They're like, no, he said you guys are dating. I'm like, oh my gosh, whoa, I don't even know you. I barely knew that person. Like, it was crazy. But yes, now it's a red flag. If someone says I don't like drama, that means that they like drama and chaos. They still have that little thing of addiction there. Yep. You ready to get to the beef, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So there's, I believe, 8 of them. And I did pick particular ones that came from your page at some point, or you posted on the Bad Mouth page. But I definitely felt a little freer too. I do have to be mindful. So what happens, this is the last segment. It's called live Facebook memes. And what that just means is through the week, I screenshot my favorite ones, whether they're funny or aha or inspirational or just whatever reason. And then I share them live. And Sarah, you get to describe them and just give me your like Facebook comments, laugh out loud, like, don't like, whatever. But I got to be a little free and forthcoming with some. None of them are. I couldn't find any offensive ones. I wasn't trying to. I'm trying to be authentic with this, but okay. So here we go. Oops, I think there's gonna be an ad that plays. So there is 8 of them, and I'm gonna pull them up. Let me get rid of this banner here quick. I'm hoping there's not 2 inappropriate ones. Okay, I got rid of that. And oh, where they are. Okay. So I put them up and I have them in order. So we're going to start with this first one. Oh God. See, I refuse to, I'm sticking on my budget, but I refuse to pay another $5.99. When you add all that stuff up, Netflix and all that, it all adds up. I'm not paying $5.99 for 2 sound effects, but they're great sound effects. They're very tempted. Here we go. Here we go. See, that just makes me laugh. All right. Memes of the week. And number 1, you love it. Read it at the top there. If you can.
You call it trauma. I call it.
It's a picture.
And then a picture of a restaurant whose name is Spicy Memory. And you know what? I don't know why this makes me giggle a little bit, but this makes me think of my cousin whenever. So my family, not just me, grew up in a very interesting way, but so I have a cousin who I literally could see this would be his like complete reaction to it. Yeah. And he would probably go off on a whole tangent, which you always hear the stories about why most people who are super humorous or comedians or all that other stuff is because of their childhood, the stuff that they went through.
With humor.
Yeah, this is right up his alley on something the way this is put out. I love it. Okay.
Yes, it looks like some kind of sushi. I think Dan sent this to me because of last week, but 100% it would be like a code. I bet you a lot of people would do this. I would be like, hey, anybody want to go to this, get some sushi? We're going to Spicy Memories. Straight up talk about some trauma, some issues that just happened. Okay, next one. You sent me this one. Who's that? Do you remember his name?
I believe it's Dale from Kale.
Yes.
Oh, good Lord. Okay. I don't care about mandates because I don't date men.
I remember his voice. I don't care about mandates because I don't date men. All little boys or girls. I love that show.
Yes.
That's true. The whole mandates, COVID is so starting again. We were just at that bookstore.
Yes.
That was great with the ovaries. And there was a stuffed kid of one of COVID. It was pretty funny.
There's literally a stuffy, like a kid stuffed animal of a uterus with the ovarian.
Yes.
It is really cute and cuddly looking, but it was meant to be a way to talk to your kids
about the female parts. But they had a little COVID like bug, and I thought that was kind of cool. Anyway, Sarah, this is what's so great about we go together is we are following each other. The listeners have no idea. Okay, next meme. Now this one's good. I think you might have said. I don't know. I love this one.
Nope. This is not for me. All right. Let's see here. This is from Hubert Reeves, a Canadian astrophysicist. Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that this nature he's destroying is the God he's worshiping. That's pretty profound, actually.
Right?
Yes. I think that's a very good way of kind of an aha or a I like to, pick at people a little bit who are very how do I say
preachy?
This? Yes, preachy. Thank you. But just, I like to challenge people's mentalities. Mm-hmm. And I do see a lot of people who, do things that are direct violation of what they're... Yes.
Hypocritical.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's and interestingly enough, I'm really obsessed with the minimalist. As you know, we're doing the minimalist challenge game. One thing that, oh, it is profound. They're just really more to getting into the depths of why we consume so many things and shop so many things. It's all about inner stuff. They actually had a guy on their show on this podcast about he works with people when they're terminal. What's beautiful about it is that he shares there's this like crystallization that actually goes on in your body. It releases this whole like almost pre-death awakening, and he's seen amazing things. So they might only have 3 months to live, but because they know they only have 3 months to live, that's a quality of life. They go out in nature and they're doing all these things amongst the world and people. Well, guess what? Some of them end up living 2 or 3 more years because that's what human beings are meant to be, right?
Yes.
Out in nature, out in whatever creator or God that you have created this beautiful earth for us to live and love.
Yes.
And they're preaching you gotta live and love each other. They're not even loving the earth and
No.
making sure that this 7 generations, future people get to. Oh, don't get me started. But yes, I love this universe. I love you. Okay, next meme.
How to hold regret tenderly. I wish I would have done that differently, and at the time, I couldn't.
Savannah Sayana Wand. She's a coach. Say
Okay.
that one again.
All right.
Isn't it beautiful?
How to hold regret tenderly. I wish I would have done that differently, and at the time, I couldn't. I struggle with this one because I don't believe in regrets.
That's what it's saying. You can hold it, but not say it was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. It's accepting that I would have done it differently, knowing what I know now, but I couldn't because I didn't know then what I know now.
So a softer way of saying reframe the way you look at something as a regret.
And not beating myself up.
Yes.
And shaming myself.
See, and that's why I struggle. Just right away, it takes me, it sets me off and triggers me just by the word regret.
Yes.
Yep.
But right after it is tenderly, right? And so that was one of my biggest character defects, was beating myself up and punishing myself. And so I loved how, yes, hold it. Because when I got into it with my kid's therapist, right, she was shooting bullets at me, Sarah. And she was like, don't you regret what you did? What do you have to say? And he's in the room with me, like, she was going after me. And I'm like, I paused and I said, I honestly cannot say I regret anything, because yes, I definitely would have done things differently, but I can't take any of that back. And I don't regret any of it, because where I sit today, I actually like myself and I am being the best mother and I'm showing up and doing the best I can. And I'm okay with that. And guess what, Sarah? Well, she's no longer it took a while. She's no longer my son's therapist, but my son defended me too and loved me and said, I get what she's saying. And it was just a moment, aha moment, but I needed to forgive myself. Okay,
Yes.
next meme, ready?
Yep. All right, there's a broken egg. Accountability 101. These first two have been crossed off. I meant well. That was not my intent. And then with a green check, I broke the egg.
Okay.
All right. Yes. So facts. I feel like this is so. I literally have just, okay, so right before we got here, I have my daughter this weekend, and she is very emotional. She's very tenderhearted and also very sensitive. So I'm kind of the opposite of her, and it's hard for me to deal with her high sensitivity level. And I've been trying so hard to match her, and good Lord.
You did great.
Oh my God. But literally this meme right here literally says it all. I meant well. That was not my intent. Like, it doesn't matter if whatever I do or say to my daughter, to her, if I say it loud, I'm yelling. If I say it with a specific tone, I'm being mean. Like, those are the things that she can only register. And for me, I can't even, I have to give all of that up to even to get to her. I just have to say, this is what happened. Stick to the facts. And don't add or, just keep it real simple. And that seems to be beneficial between her and I in our relationship. But yeah, I feel like this is literally just what happened.
Yes. Accountability 101. So now I'm going to flip that dynamic, because when I saw this, I thought of two things. One, why I still don't, like, I've let it go. And that's what's nice is, but where it sits today, I never got that. accountability piece. Now, my adopted dad is dead. He's been dead for a little bit. But like my adopted mom and still my sister, those are two big people that are not in my life, have not been in my life for 3 years. Well, lo and behold, they're doing pretty well.
Yep.
But they always go to those first exes first. Well, I didn't mean that.
Yes.
I didn't know. I didn't mean for that to happen. That's bullshit.
Yep.
So before I'd be like, okay, well, I just gotta let them be, you know, they're just not competent. Well, my sister is a very
None of
competent,
them can admit it.
smart, correct. And they just need to go to, I fucked up.
Yep.
Because when I put myself in their shoes and vice versa on things that I have done, you know what? I even actually, I'm gonna go to dark place. Okay, now he's dead. The only way, because like it took me weeks to process, like how can I really forgive this monster? There's a lot of terrible things. If he was alive, or if my mom actually, I would say, sat down and looked me in my face, and like I said, she doesn't have. I don't feel like she even has the deep capacity to handle things on a deeper level. Like even her generation is older than my friend's generation. Like it wasn't like emotional maturity thing. But even if she just, as long as she did fall into the excuses, bullshit, those first
Yep.
things, it just said, I messed up.
Yep.
I never should have questioned you. I should have taken what you said as is. And I'm sorry. Like I fucked up. Like simple, just real simple.
Yep.
No excuses, no whatever. Like I could work with that. But that has never been her go-to. That never will be her go-to. I can't imagine it. It'd be like some crazy, maybe she's a car crash and then she arrives and totally changes. But I don't ever see that happening.
Yep.
My sister, who knows? She finds recovery. That might be a possibility, but her go-to, and I don't blame her at all. She grew up in the same house. It wasn't the same house, but it was the same house. Her mentality is that defense mode. And every single time she has messed up our relationship, and I've gone back and forth with her too, but those really bad things, she will never just take accountability for her side of the street.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're all good.
Here's a funny one.
Okay, yes.
Side by side pictures.
All right. Yep. Side by side with Napoleon Dynamite and Taylor Swift. And I love this. When you finally realize Napoleon Dynamite is actually Taylor Swift in drag, this is accurate.
Does it look like siblings?
They have the exact same mouth jaw drop, the same long nose, like everything. This is fantastic. Actually, all right, so wait, just a surprise fun one. Sorry, you guys, for anybody who's listening, won't be able to see this picture, but I'll post it later. I promise. So I came across this the other day, and I don't know why it's so stupid. It made me literally laugh my ass off. But if you could just describe the picture.
Okay.
So the meme reads, "This vase has had more than enough of your shenanigans."
It looks like the vase looks like the handles are like hands and hips. Like I'm done with this. That's cute. Oh, that's great. Okay, moving on. Yes, you'll have to post it because nobody can see that.
Yep.
It is cute. Oh, I think this one's just good dad jokes, but I love.
Yep.
Top part is the car guy selling him a car. It says.
Yep. The car salesman's doing his pitch, and the guy who's looking says, "Cargo space?" ? And the sales guy replies, "Car no do that, cargo mad. Cargo road." Which in this day and age, I mean, we all think, what person in our generation didn't, when we were in elementary school, we were like, oh, in 2023, what
Back
will
to the future?
Yeah, what will it look like? I'm pretty sure we all had cars that would go into freaking outer space.
I did, and I pulled this on my 12-year-old daughter, and I'm like, cargo space? Car don't do that. Cargo road. She's like, I don't get it. Like, the car doesn't go to space. She's like, that's stupid, Mom. Rolling. Okay, just words.
Okay. If I marry someone who doesn't like sleeping with the fan on, then we'll just have to compromise and sleep with the fan on.
This popped up in my memory 7 years ago, Sarah. Still true to this day. I've changed it over now to a white noise machine. But yeah, we're going to compromise, and I'm still going to have my white noise machine. So whatever you want to do with that. And no marriage. Okay.
Hey, at least you're not being codependent.
That's right. It's my bed, my house. Okay, 2 more.
All right. When you are typing your comment on a random post, and then right in the middle, you realize, shit, I don't care. I do this a lot.
So what? I'm like, wait, whose is this thing? Why am I even? I don't care.
Yep, you're going down the rabbit holes and you find yourself sucked into something and you start typing in a way and you're like, wait a minute, who, what? Nope, never mind. Back out.
Yes, and I'll you could probably go find it. There's maybe 2 or 3 times all of last year that I got into it just for whatever reason. I was out having a bad day. I know those people. I know the kids. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and post it, and it's fine. It was fine. Last and final.
All right. Here's the quote from, is that M?
Yeah.
M. Rose. You never forget a person who came to you with a torch in the dark.
Who comes to mind?
You. First of all,
Me?
this is beautiful. I love the fact that it says torch in the dark instead of a light.
Yes.
I am also a firm believer in burning the fucking bridges.
Yes.
Because I hate when people, I grew up with that, don't burn bridges, don't do this, do that. No, you know what? Some of those bridges, burn those motherfuckers down.
Yes. Hell yeah, you go build up your own over there.
Yep, build a stronger one, a better one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I like the wording in this, and it definitely actually makes me think of you because at my darkest hour, you were not only just somebody that I was able to call, and I barely knew you, which is, I think, what made our relationship that much stronger is that based out of the whatever this program of recovery, specifically at the time it was AA, the principles behind it and what we stand for and what we were here for, you not only showed up and gave that to me, you went above and beyond. You're like, oh, hell no. You're like, I'm going to go take care of this shit right now for you. You did the things that I literally physically could not do in the moment that I was being destroyed. And you went above and beyond. You were my torch.
No.
So thank you.
I forgot about that. But that's the kind of stuff I don't hesitate on. First of all, I just felt connected to you. Like we were soul sisters anyway. And when I heard I know what situation you're talking about, I'm like, I remember being helpless, no control, and people are fucking up my life while I'm outside. And how depressing that was. Well, I was like, I'm going to try to do something about this because I can. And I'm going to. And it felt great. So,
actions.
Yes. And so many people would say, when I almost died, not once, not twice, not 3 times, they'd always say, oh, I'm going to help you more with the kids. I'm going to help you so you could go to meetings. I'm going to help you. Fuck that. 1, maybe 2 weeks, and they're back to their lives. And gee, I wonder why I kept falling back into nobody really genuinely fucking cares or shows up.
Yep.
And this was, by the way, not recovery people.
Actions, and I preach this all the time, speak louder than words, to the point that I live my life very action orientated to make myself authentic, which bringing full circle here back to those values that we have, that we hold. That is one of mine. 100%, because at the end of the day, promises get broken, they never get made. Actions are where it's at. And if there's anything that I can do for my daughter going forward and proving anything, it is through my actions. And I even had a dear friend of ours recently say to me, she's like, oh, I forget, because we were having a deep conversation, I forget how action orientated you are, because she was dealing with a crisis, and in the moment I just said, okay, but what can you do? Like, I hear you and I sympathize or empathize, and there's all this stuff going on, but at the end of the day, how can you make it like, what is your next step? How can you actually move forward from here? And she's like, oh yeah, okay, wait, that's right. And it just gave her kind of a clean perspective, or broke her from that downward spiral. So yes, action, action, action. I preach it all the time, and I swear by it. I live by it. That's my values.
Oh yes, and that was really what I needed. I just stopped thinking and started doing. As soon as my brain started going to the hamster wheel, do. Stop, just get out of the house, whatever it took. Interestingly enough, I want to give a shout out to somebody before my sponsor, Marcy. Shout out to Joanne. She's in Alaska, still in my life, and she is not a person in recovery. Here's what's interesting, and I forget. She was kind of my first person through some big traumas in my life. When I was working at a regular professional job, she was my only person. She stuck through me through the thick of it. Okay, so I started this great job, right? Divorce. Okay, going through a divorce. He's with another person, so that was a hit to the heart. Then I found I was pregnant with a new person, so I worked there 6 years, and freaking out. She was there. She was there through the shitstorm of my sister. And at the end of the day, she was there for me when, one of the closest people, he almost died in front of me. And I forget those traumas because I'm really good at moving on and blocking those out. But she never fucking judged me. And like you just said, she was a show up action person, and she still is today. And I just remember this key moment when my ex husband at the time and his new girlfriend walked over to her. And this is apparently what they had been doing with everybody in my life. They're like, so why we're bringing Bridge to court, right? What she did. She's like, no, stop right there. Okay. I know Bridge. And they cut her off and they're trying to talk to her again. She's like, see, this is exactly what I feel bad for. This is what she's got to deal with. And maybe that is why she told him off. Like, maybe that's why she's having such a hard time, because you guys are going around bad mouthing her and nobody will stand behind her. And she didn't even listen to the rest of their bullshit. And she walked over to me and she's like, I got you. Like, she was so mad for me. And I was like, oh my God, someone who actually, because most people, for whatever reason, I'll give people grace. Like, they're too scared to say anything, or they like that juicy gossip. Yeah. Or just don't want to cause any kind of friction. There's a lot of things I hear, case to case basis, whether I'm going to, whatever. A lot of times I just walk away too. But in that moment, she stood up for me. That's that one of those memes I've seen where your true friends are the ones who are hearing things about you and will stand up for you when you're not even there. That's true. So shout out to Joanne. She's the godmother to my two youngest boys. And I tell you, it's been really hard not to run and live in Alaska when I visited her there, because I would. But, my older kids would be like, yeah, leave our dad. But like, she is that one person who is an ally, who's just authentically been like a soul. Like, for me, she's like that soul, like, best aunt I wish I would have had or something. Like, she's just wonderful. And her, like, see, I believe she's just turned 60. You would never guess it though. I hope to look as good and be action based as she is. She just played hockey and she does hiking and bears. She's amazing. And she's definitely a role model, but she is one of those authentic people that you don't even have to be in recovery or go through a shit. So now she's probably had a life, but she's authentic and she stands by her word, and I love her unconditionally. Yes. Oh. You get to make your own family recovery.
Yes, you do. And I'm also a firm believer in that.
Mm-hmm. You would love her, by the way.
I think I would.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And well, downstairs where I have my little bedroom living area, I even have a sign that I don't know if you've ever even noticed it down there or not, but it's a little wooden sign. It says sisters, not sisters by blood, but sisters by heart. And I think that means a lot more. Especially just because I struggle with that whole family blood relationship, the expectations versus reality shit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I can follow my heart, and it found my perfect true sister.
100%. Yeah, blood don't mean nothing when it comes to and that's where I think the biggest struggle is. A lot of people have a hard time letting go but you can't do that to your family. Well, if your family has been the biggest reason, not all, but I'm just saying, you had a lot of shitty people that are always been shitty. They never want to support you or celebrate you. You don't have to bring them along with you, period. And then you get to meet people like Sarah and be new family members. Okay. Shutting it down. Thank you, everybody. That was, I hope, a lot of good information. I'll post more links when I get home tonight. Oh, let's see if there's any last comments. Nope. Oh, Jesse said, good job, ladies. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope you have a great week, and I will catch you next week. Good night. Oh, I always want to forget the song. The song is my go-to when I'm re-listening to this podcast. I do at least listen to it once or twice, and it reminds me, oh, we're at the end. Okay, pay attention. Now you got to listen to it again.